Welcome, everyone, for our fifth session of Candidate School. And today we are joined by Jaquita Clark Thompson and Chris Thompson. Jaquita is the EVP, our current EVP for the Americas, and Chris and I served as state presidents together. He's a former NVP, and so the two of them are going to share some of their experience about this session on public speaking, some best practices for floor strategy, and there's kind of some of the things that come into play with campaigning. So thank you for joining us, and I will turn it over to the two of them to kind of tell you a little bit more about themselves and jump right in.
Okay, I guess I will start. So my name is Jaquita Clark Thompson. I am the 2026 EVP, Executive Vice President for JCI assigned to America, aka Area C. I have had a contested election for Executive Vice President, which was nerve-wracking, but it all worked out. And actually, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Yohemi is running this year, who is my opposing candidate last year, is running for next year. So we wish her all the best. Still friends to this day. Before that, I was a national vice president. I was an ADC commissioner, international vice president, state president, local president. And I think all except two of my elections throughout my entire time in JCI have been contested. So know a lot about candidate school. I know a lot about public speaking and how to really get yourself out there and put your best foot forward. Thank you. Over to you, Chris.
I'm Chris Thompson. That is my wife, the executive vice president. I'm a past national vice president in 2025. I was state president in 2024, and then I was also a two-time chapter president in 2022 and 2023. My career in JCI, I've only had a contested election once, and that was when I was at the chapter level. And I was fortunate that the first year I dealt with it, but I didn't have to deal with it the second year. But so last year I oversaw advancements, which included TOYA, sponsorships, and it's kind of moved around since then, but it was Tech Advisory Group. I never had to deal with a contested election at the national or state level, but that's not always a terrible thing. I think contested elections are great. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. I think both of you have a plethora of experience to share with our participants, and it's always appreciate when you take time, especially out of your busy schedules, to join us on a Monday evening. So we'll jump right in. Go ahead and skip introductions today and go right into the content. So the first thing we're going to really address here is some of public speaking skills and the necessity of public speaking skills as a candidate.
So going into that first slide there, the way you speak does matter, right? You're going to be at the national level, in whatever position, you end up being in. You're going to have to address people. You're going to have members coming up to you, and you're going to be the focal point for a lot of information that gets disseminated to the membership. So with that being said, it does matter how you portray that information, right? Because you can say the same thing three different ways, and to somebody receiving it, their perception can mean three different things. So it is important on how you speak, your ability to deliver your message or deliver the information well. But also, dealing with making sure that you are saying the information the right way. The way you perceive something may be different than the way the other person who's receiving the information perceives it. So being clear and concise is important. Any questions on this? All right, next slide. So virtual does matter too. We're in a virtual meeting right now. JCI Michigan does do a virtual candidate caucus. And so it is important on how you present yourself, the same way you would walk into a room and make that first impression. You only make one first impression. So when you're making that impression, make sure that whether you're walking into a room or you're turning the camera on in a meeting, that you do look presentable. Be mindful of, you know, certain things, right? So maybe a t-shirt you're wearing, or a, you know, tattoos that are being shown, or what's hanging in the background in your wall, right? Like, you know, you'd be surprised at, when you have nothing but, you know, a small little window to look at, what people actually are paying attention to. And so, you know, as a candidate, realize that you do represent JCI USA at all times, even as a candidate, and that any reflection, you know, that you may have is going to be either good or poor representation of that. So just, you always want to be mindful of those things. Treat it as if, you know, you're walking into a job interview. How would you want that person to look at you? Anything to
Yeah.
add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll add on this too, because just in my experience, not even JC experience, but as a training experience, um, virtual is not necessarily the same as in person, right? Like they're related, but there are different things that you have to take account of. So, you know, virtual meetings, even though we're looking at each other, right? You don't get the same amount of body language and even facial expressions. Everything's flatter, if that makes sense. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, and you like, and your tone even comes across a little bit differently. So it's important, given how often in JCI we do virtual meetings, no matter what level you're at, even at the state level, our meetings are virtual, is that this is a skill set that you should kind of practice both ways. It is just as important to be impactful on a virtual meeting as it is in person. Both of them, people are going to be evaluating you as a person, but it also comes through, that's how they evaluate your leadership skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so practicing these skills, and we'll can get into a little bit in the future slide of like exactly what that looks like the specifics, but it should be treated as its own discipline and something to practice both ways.
I want
Yeah.
to add something quickly too, especially those of you who are going to move up further in JCI and start getting into virtual meetings that are international. That's a whole different animal, right? Because you may be speaking to people who don't speak your same language, you don't speak their language, you're trying to use translators. So when you are doing virtual meetings, I try to stay as engaged, use your hands, that kind of thing, because Michelle's right. You can't, it's flat. So the only thing you can see is more so nonverbal communication. Even if they can't see what you're doing with your hands, they can kind of feel a little bit more presence. And it's just a whole different animal. I'm not a huge virtual meeting fan. I wish we didn't have to do them, but hey, we can't be in 15 places at once, right?
It's almost similar to the same rule of thumb as like text messages versus a phone call versus being in person, right? Like when you submit a text message to somebody, you know, tonality, you know, the feeling, the emotions, those things aren't there sometimes, unless you get a ton of exclamation points. But are those exclamation points angry, or are you excited, right? It's just, those can be two different, you know, emotions that are portrayed by one sentence based on how the reader perceives it. So yeah, when you're in a virtual meeting, you know, your camera being on matters. Your you know, your presence, whether, you know, you're excited or whether you're showing your hands, like EVP said, or, you know, anything like for that matter. It's important to make sure that, you know, you're showing as much excitement or energy on the call as you would in person, and you almost have to do it a little bit more because of the fact you're just in a tiny screen.
Yeah.
And I will say something here, one thing, because I have noticed this, especially, it's funny, the first place I noticed it was actually judging. Is Jaquita mentioned this too, is that your movements. So even if my hands are below the screen, right? Like you can't see my hands. If I'm moving them around, you can see my shoulders, right? So you know that I'm like shifting my weight back and forth. And I've seen people like they're tapping their foot and you can see the computer vibrating, right? Like, even though you can't see their foot, those little movements are amplified because, as Chris said, all you see is this little box. And so people are hyper focused on those types of things and things going on in the background. So if you have a ceiling fan that's throwing a shadow or something, like, people's attention will zero in on that because your tone and voice are a little bit flatter. So those minute things that in person you wouldn't even notice become big deal. Or people crinkling water bottles sounds way louder on a phone, right? Than in person, you wouldn't even notice it. So just kind of demonstrating those types of little things, because it comes into play and we don't even think about it in our room, you know?
Right. Right.
So, like we just talked about, the audience sees you before you hear you, right? So whether that's virtual, whether that's in person, whatever environment that may be in, remember, when you walk into a room, that whole room is looking you over. They're looking at your outfit, they're looking your hair, they're looking at all the very superficial things that they could look at, because they may not know you from anywhere. Now, in most cases, as a candidate for JCI USA, we would hope that they know you. But think about how many times you go into your first national meeting and you've never seen an election before. That was me, right? That was my first JCI USA convention. I walked in and didn't know any of the people that were up for office except for my state president at the time. And so I was looking them over. And yes, I made some poor judgment of people on their first impression. And some of these people are my friends today, right? Like, these are people that I'm very close with today. And you would have asked me at the end of their first caucus when I was there. No way, they don't have my vote. and they ended up getting elected, and I met these people, and they were my, some of them were my, NVPs and MDDs. And to this day, had my foot in my mouth, and they're actually some really great people. But that first impression meant a lot. Now, if I was the deciding factor, like many of the people who are voting for you are, think about that. If your first impression means that much, that could be the difference between getting elected and not getting elected, right? In some cases, in contested elections, right? That could be just because somebody didn't like the shirt you wore, or didn't like a pin that you put on when you walked into the room, whatever that may be, could be a huge difference maker. I always think, for me personally, when I walk into a room, I want to try and command a presence, right? I want people to see me. I'm a bigger person, so I can do that, right? Like, that's one of the things of being a bigger guy, is that when you walk into a room, you kind of, like, everybody's like, oh, who's that? Right? So I didn't know this when I was younger, but as I got older, I realized, like, yeah, we saw you walking in, when you came in about 10 minutes ago. Really? I thought I snuck in. No, it's hard for you to sneak in, Chris. So with that being said, you want to make sure that when you come into a room, remember, it's game on. Make eye contact with people. Don't walk in looking afraid or timid. Don't be afraid to smile. Everybody's watching you. And I don't say that to be nervous, but just remember that's be present of it. Know that it's there. And then your hands, make sure you're not moving your hands too crazy and too erratic. Make sure that you're not doing anything that's going to be over the top. They try to say, depending on how much emotion you're portraying, try to show your hands in that space. So if you want to show a lot of emotion, you make big hand gestures, right? Because you're trying to show the energy that you're giving off. If you're showing a little bit of emotion, maybe you keep your hands more within the shoulders, right, as far as what you're talking. But you never want to do drastic movements, because it can overtake your presence. And then facial expressions, remember, like anything you make, it could be captured in a a JCI slide, right? so so you could be the next slide in it. Do you want to have a funny face, or do you want to, you know,
I have a horror story about that.
yeah, I have so many of those, right? So many of those bad picks while speaking, and I have some really good ones. And it just, you always just want to remember that you're up there, that you're being watched. You, in some cases, people are making their first or second judgments of you while you're up there. Um, so you're the star at that moment. You be the star of the show, and own that moment. And I'm sure some of you out there, I know I saw some hands, some people in the audience that have been in different positions. I'm sure you have your own fair share of those, right?
Yeah. One thing I
Yeah.
want to underline here is that this, as Chris said, this starts when you walk in the room. It's not when you walk the steps up to the stage and you're at the podium and you start speaking. People are evaluating you before that when you're at the table. And so facial expressions matter there too, right? Like if somebody says something and you react, people are going to see that you reacted, right? And we're human beings. We assign meaning to behaviors and actions that we see. And so you need to be like cognizant of what your face is doing when you're listening. And the amount of times that I have seen people not listen to the other candidates, right? And they're chit chatting and they're playing on their phone or whatever. Like people are going to read that you are disengaged and you don't care. And it's a sign of disrespect for the other candidates. You may think that no one notices, even if you're in the back of the room or a corner. I promise you, people are noticing. And hey, as Chris said, sometimes they take pictures of it and you end up on slides, whether you wanted to or not, right?
Yeah.
So it's about that, like walking in with the frame of mind that you are a candidate and you're going to be evaluated as a candidate in everything that you do, whether you're on the stage or not. And all of that is part of your persona, your public persona, and is going to influence the way that people interpret your speech. It all kind of comes together.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Chiquita, you want to take this one?
Sit up. Put your feet on the floor. Sometimes I actually stand when I'm doing virtual meetings just because that's how I naturally present, especially if I'm addressing a very large audience, just because it's more natural. Eye contact. I am currently staring at Michelle's beautiful face, but if she was not there, I'd be staring at my own face because I will talk to myself. So it doesn't so you're not looking like, yeah, or my number one pet peeve when people's heads are down in their laptop and they're talking to me, don't do that. Hands, use your hands. Don't get too crazy. I'm a very hands-oriented person, so it's something I still work on. Yeah, make sure you're centered. That wasn't happening for me tonight with my tripod, but typically try to make sure you're centered and the lighting so people can see you. There's been times where I've attended Zooms or I've been on candidate calls and I literally cannot see the candidate. I just see like shadows. It reminds me of kind of Darkwing Duck, like a mysterious figure is talking to me about their campaign. And yeah, your facial expressions, just remain warm, open, engaged, like please, 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 on virtual meetings. First of all, do not have a monotone. This is not the time to be monotone. This is not the time to be like, well, I have a lot of ideas and nobody wants to hear that, right? You're on camera. It's bad enough they can't see you in person, so give them a little something to look at. Right? Okay. But not too much. Like, don't choreograph a dance routine unless it's part of your campaign, in which case do it. All right, next slide. All right, managing nerves. Believe it or not, I still get very nervous right before. I wouldn't even say it's nerves as much as it is adrenaline. So it's just this kind of like tingly, like oh no, I'm nervous, but it's really an excitement. So one way to reframe it is reframe your nerves as excitement. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. A bear is not going to maul you on stage. Everything's going to be fine. You're just anxious to get out there and say what you got to say. The first couple of lines of your speech, this was so important, Michelle. Thank you for putting that in there. Know the opening phrase. No matter what, you need to know your opening phrase, your ending phrase, and the one key thing you want people to know. Because I can tell you, there's going to be times where things are falling in the background, or people are walking in, or you just like completely space. But if you can bring yourself back to those three things, you'll, one, be less nervous, and two, you'll still seem prepared. The pauses. Give yourself time to pause. Give yourself time to breathe. I don't think pauses are a bad thing. People sometimes get, oh no, I got to keep talking. No, give people time to digest what you're saying. Take a deep breath. The audience does not want you to fail. Even in circumstances where it's a contested election and your opponent may be facing you directly, you may be actively engaged in debate. Nobody wants you to fall off the stage. Nobody wants you to just lose it altogether. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. If you get off track, that's fine. It happens to everybody. We're human. This is JCI. We're here to learn too, right? Like, we have to remember this is a leadership development organization. Take a moment, gather yourself, and get right back into it. But yeah, your first phrase, what you want people to know, and the end. If you got that, you're fine.
I always remind people, no one knows what you're supposed to say but you.
Exactly. I even in my EVP caucus speech, I had written it about 57 times. Quick story. And I am notoriously not a good reader. I don't read from speeches. I just speak. And I kept trying to figure out what I wanted to say. I talked it over with Lori. I talked it over with some of the other advisors. I get on stage and I was like, oh crap, I don't even know what I'm talking about. So the first thing out of my mouth was, I wrote this speech so many times and I don't know what to tell you, so I'm just going to speak from the heart. Well, that actually increased my score.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was honest. I literally got on stage and was like, I don't know my name right now. But I'm just going to speak from the heart. I knew where I wanted the speech to end, though. So, yeah, it's okay to be nervous. You're going to be nervous. It's human nature.
Being scared is not a reason not to do something.
No, and then walk up there with confidence. I don't care if you have, this is your first day ever speaking in front of a group. They'll never know it. Just walk up there with confidence, like you own the room, and you'll be fine.
Yep.
All right. Talk to the people, not at them. Engage with them. Nobody wants to sit there and hear you recite from a paper for 5 minutes. You know, do audience recall. I always try to check in with the audience. I'll say, do you hear me? Do you feel me? Yeah? No? Even when you're starting your speech, you could say, I always start with JCI or Hotasei, whoever I'm talking to. What's up? Like, I want you to engage. You want them to feel engaged. Make eye contact. I know some people don't like making eye contact. You can look just above people's heads or find one person to kind of focus on. And if at all possible, if you have a mic that is not wired to a podium, walk around. Don't get stuck behind the podium. Walk around, engage with everybody, because that looks a lot better than you gripping a podium for dear life. Next. All right. I'm going to turn this one over to Chris.
So making an impact. Remember, you only have what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever that looks like, in order to get your point across. So you're trying to either persuade an audience. You may be trying to, get people to instill confidence in you, right? To think that you're going to be their person, their state president, their national vice president. their national president, whatever the case may be. So you want to make sure that whatever your point is, whatever you're trying to get across, that it's structured, it has a beginning, a body, and an end, right? Or an opening line, a body of whatever your point is that you're trying to get across, and then a conclusion. How is it going to end? Um, the reason why we do it on the leadership showcase, why we have that in place, why that program's been going on for so long, is to make sure that candidates who are thinking, or people who are thinking about becoming a candidate for JCI, USA, or they're thinking about moving up in some sort of leadership role within the organization or beyond, uh, it gives you time to do this on a stage that's really just like any other program or anything we do in JCI, a safe space to fail, right? But do we want you to fail? No, right? We don't want you to fail. We want you to kind of get this dry run, right? I'm a football guy. I play a lot of sports, so it's like it's practice. It's you getting a chance to go to practice to see if something works or if it doesn't work, to sample some things out, to see if maybe you know if I open this way, how does it does it sound natural when I do it? Maybe it doesn't sound natural. And then that way, when you get up on the big stage and you're actually doing a candidate caucus or you're speaking in front of an audience, you feel comfortable doing it because you've had time to rehearse it and do the trial and error phase of it. And these are things that can be done outside of Leadership Showcase. You can do this at your house. You can record yourself on video. You can do it in front of a mirror, whatever you feel comfortable with. Some people do it in their rooms prior to a speech at convention. But whatever works best for you, you find that way. But you definitely want to make sure that it's clear, concise. You get your point across, beginning, middle, end, and at the end, people aren't saying, "What did they just say?" Because that does happen sometimes too. You want to make sure that that's all that stuff is getting out there, and that at the end they go, "Oh, I know exactly what they're trying to say," and I either agree or don't agree with them.
And one important key I want to say is be very aware of your time, especially if you're giving a time speech. Be very careful about your time. And if you find that you are running out of time and you're like, oh no, I am not going to make it through this entire speech, my suggestion, so you seem at least somewhat prepared, is finish that phrase and then say, again, my name is Jaquita Clark Thompson from JCI USA. Thank you. I mean, use your name. Don't say my name. Or you could, whatever works for you. But yeah, if you feel like you're running out of time, you're like, I'm not going to land this plane in time, get to the end. Because it's better to end it than to have them cut your mic off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or for you to be or you have an entire minute left and you're just staring at the audience.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you run out of time too early, it's like you have nothing to say. The perception was, they're kind of empty, right? Whereas if you get cut off, you're perceived as being unprepared. And and going back to like the last slide, right? We said, know your opening, main point in your closing. If you know you're running out of time, kind of transition, say that closing line and thank you, right? Like, again, no one knows what's supposed to be in your speech but you and maybe your campaign manager. If you don't say it, as long as you own it and you transition nicely, your audience can't tell.
And take a pause. If you're finished, if you're like, oh no, I still have 2 minutes left, start putting the pauses in. I encourage everybody, because I do this when I'm practicing speeches, even though I never give the same speech twice just because I don't. I practice with pauses in. Like I will write pauses into my speech because I know I'll get very excited, nerves will start running, and then I'll just start talking. Give yourself time to back out. But like you said, it's very important. Get that timing. I cannot stress that enough. Timing is so important when speeches. Be cognizant of the timekeeper. Figure out where they're at. Pay attention. Don't stare them down, but pay attention.
And I would say even more so, remember that the time is not just for you. It's for the people in your audience, right?
Mhm.
Like we don't want people in the audience, and I know we've all sat through it before. We've all had somebody who's very long-winded. It happens, and sometimes it's us, right? Sometimes it can be us. Um, but you don't want to be that person that like keeps people from the show moving on or
Mhm.
moving on to the next thing, or maybe keeps them from dinner, right?
Definitely, I want to be
Or
that person.
keeping them from dinner or getting a drink or from cooling down because I've been in places where it's really hot and you're like, man, can we get through this? Because it's so hot. And so you want to be the person that moves things along in a timely manner because it's respect for not only yourself, but for them.
Exactly.
The one last thing I'll add here is because I have heard this before from other candidates that, if they're running unopposed, that this doesn't matter so much, right? Because what's the other
100%.
option, right? And, even if it's an uncontested race, it's still a campaign. It just switches from a persuasive campaign to an informative campaign. You should still be using and leveraging this time to tell your audience more about
Mhm.
you and what you stand for, right? You're still informing them what your platform is, who you are as a person, what they can expect of you as a leader. It's not a free ride into like the position.
Yeah.
Use your time for the speeches. If you have 2 minutes, use that 2 minutes to tell them about yourself.
Even if it's uncontested, especially if it's uncontested, this is so important because this kind of determines whether or not they're going to engage with you as a leader moving forward. If you have a really, really bad campaign and they feel like, oh, well, I got this in the bag, I don't need to worry about it, they're not going to engage with you when you actually need to lead them. And that's half the battle right there of being a leader, is getting people to pick up the phone, right? Return your email. They're not going to have the respect for you that you need to have as their leader, or as a leader. So it is so important, if you're uncontested, especially to create that connection with the audience early on, create that connection with your members early on. You're going to have a very, very hard uphill battle. I see it far too often, unfortunately.
100%.
All right, the 4-part structure. We're going to breeze on through this, but it's important. I'm sure Michelle has these slides available for you guys to see later, right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yes. So, number 1, the opening, a hook, not, hey, hello, my name is Jakita Clark Thompson from the Virginia JCs. I remember I started a speaker showcase speech. I didn't come here to make friends. I have enough. I actually got in a lot of trouble for that speech, but it was one of my better speeches, I think. It got the audience's attention, right? Start with the question, a problem, something that gathers their attention. Don't just go up there and just randomly run it, just start speaking, because give the audience time to figure out what you're doing and warm up to you. The why you, why now, why are you credible, why do you want to do this? Is it because you want a name tag? I mean, I would hope you wouldn't say that in a speech. Why are you doing this? Like, why should they choose you? Why should we entrust our 110 111-year-old organization in your hands, right? Even at the local level, you're being entrusted with something that's over a century, which is something to be very proud of. The what? This is important. What do you plan on doing? I've seen some speeches, because I've had the fortune to see elections in a lot of different places. And one thing I've noticed is that when the candidates only talk about themselves, they don't talk about their actual platform. They just talk about why they're so great, what they're going to do, how they feel. They've lost the audience. Most of the time, they lose the election. And if it's uncontested, they have a hard time connecting, because you've gone through that and your members and audience still don't know what it is that you're platforming. What do you plan on doing differently? Or what do you plan on continuing to do? And then the close, a clear, memorable final line. What do you want them to remember about you? besides your name, that's probably important. They should know your name. But I always say bring it on home. What is the final thought you want to leave the audience with? Because when I'm giving speeches, I know there's 20 other speakers, but I want the audience to remember what I said. So it's important that your closing is clear, it's connecting, and that you truly take a moment to pause and deliver it sincerely. And that is the 4-part structure, according to me.
Well, what I liked about this was the percentage, right? And if you actually take this and break it down, that of a 2-minute speech, you have, 50 to 60 seconds is the body of your entire speech. Can you put your platform or what you stand for in 50 or 60 seconds? Right?
You should be. Elevator pitch.
Right. And so that is part of, like, when you are writing and developing it, you gotta get down to that core message. What are you leaving people with? Because 2 minutes seems like a long time, and it's not.
Mm-mm. It's definitely not. Yeah, you're so right. What and how, the what is a big part of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so
Go
you got
ahead,
this,
Chris.
Shakira?
No, oh,
No,
okay.
no, I got it. It's fine. uh, so it's best practices for preparation. So you're writing your speech out, and then cutting it. So I always tend to write out everything that I want to say, right? Like my pure thought that I want to put out to the public, I will write out that whole thing, right? And so you know that if you say, hey, I think this is going to be about 3 minutes, it's most likely going to be about 3 minutes and 30 seconds, right? So you're probably going to go over because you're saying it the way you're reading it. In most cases, you're not saying it the way it is going to be timed. You're not putting those pauses into play. You're just reading it off. So once you start to add in pauses and when you're gathering your thoughts, because sometimes when you're up there, you may lose just a few seconds and go, oh, where was I? Okay, here. I'd say condense something down. If you have a 3-minute speech, maybe make it 2 minutes and 20 seconds, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If you're doing a 2-minute speech, maybe make it a minute and a half, right? You want to get it to the point where if you read it, it's a minute and a half. If you add in those pauses and those moments where you need to kind of regather yourself, you'll hit just at that 2-minute mark, right? And I'm sure there are others who can attest to this. What you're saying, how you're saying it, your points. I think somebody put in the chat, I think it was Jessica, that put have your beginning, your end, and then maybe 3 words that kind of reach into the body of what your message is. Sometimes those 3 words can get jumbled up and you may lose exactly where you're at or what you went over. You're going to need to take some time to regather yourself. That's all going to affect where you finish on your mark during your speech. So make sure that you're doing that part of it, memorizing your main points in a few transitions, so that way if you are off, you can regather yourself. You're not completely derailed in your speech because of one word or one sentence you missed. You can come back to it. So maybe you want to practice that transition. Of course, what you wear. I mean, if you go up in there with 6-inch heels or really uncomfortable dress shoes for guys, or for people who just want to wear dress shoes. um, all those things can throw you off. If your feet are uncomfortable, if your back starts to hurt, your hips are hurting, whatever, while you're standing up there, all of it's going to throw you off in your speech, because the minute that uncomfortability comes on, it's going to ruin everything. And then know what you need beforehand. If there's something, I think it was there was a past president. Was it Ross Perot that was running for president, or somebody said he keeps a pen in his hand all the time when he's speaking. And that was like when in order to stress his points, he would always keep that pen in his hand and kind of show that motion. I can't remember who. I think it was. I'm gonna say it was Ross Perot or Al Gore, or somebody that had it in their hand when they were running for president. And whatever your way is to kind of relieve your anxiety or to be able to stress a certain point, whatever makes you feel comfortable while you're up there. I'm not saying bring your comfort blanket, right? Or your or your emotional support dog. You might not want to do that, but if there's something like a little like fidget thing that kind of helps relieve that anxiety or kind of give you that you can hold in your hand, do that. Some people have like chess pieces or an action figure or something in their hand that they keep in their hand to make them feel comfortable. Do that, right? The more comfortable you are out there, the more comfortable you'll be delivering your message, and the better it'll be received.
Yes. And in the case of those of you who have to give extremely formal speeches where it's protocol, please do not spend the first 2 minutes of your speech addressing every single person. You could just say all protocols observed and move on. Because I've seen that too. I've seen candidates literally lose half their time addressing the president, the vice president, the senators, just say what you got to. All protocols observed. Hello, move on. Practice that protocol with your speech though, so you don't, miss half your speech saying hello to everybody.
Well, and I'll add to the watch what you wear with a funny story. So some of the people on this call are Michigan people, and like our last conference, this is a cautionary tale. So my dress for Saturday night, I had it altered and I had the back changed, and it had like one of the lace up and it had a panel, and they attached it with snaps. And I picked it up the day before the conference or 2 days before the conference. And like I had worn it for the alterations, right? You're standing in front of the mirror. Well, I discovered on Saturday night while getting up and giving a speech that when I moved my shoulders like this, the snaps would pop open. And it happened every time I went on stage. And every time I got off stage, I had to get Karina to like quick snap it back so before I went on stage again. And so the entire time I was up there, that's all I could think about, right? And so you're not present. You're concerned about that. You're not necessarily like you're not showing that sort of confidence that is what's going to get you through. And so if you try on your outfit that you plan on wearing and move around in it like you would naturally, because if you are physically uncomfortable or have like something like that, a strap that keeps falling down, a jacket that's too tight in the shoulders or something like that, it will come through in the way that you speak. And it sounds so goofy, but it really is true. And confidence is such a big part of this stuff. Like even if you mess up, right? If you don't show it and you just go on with confidence, no one else is going to know it, right? All of this kind of factors into that. Do you need to listen to a pump up song before out in the hallway before you get up there so that you feel confident walking in the room? Whatever that is, that's what you have to kind of figure out and practice doing and have on hand when you go to up to give that speech.
Mm-hmm. And
I think
splits.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say no front splits in your dress. If I can give any advice, last year in Canada, my first dress ripped, so I had to wear my backup dress, which I had never worn before, except to try it on, kind of similar situation. It had a front split. I had never been so uncomfortable in my life because I'm pretty sure as I started walking, you can imagine it just started riding up. So I spent the entire speech like holding my dress down for dear life with my legs crossed in front of me. So now every picture in Canada from last year is me looking like that on stage. So again, back to what Michelle said, please try out your clothes and make sure you're comfortable. And I had never been, probably the worst speech I've ever given in my life, actually.
Because that's all you can think about. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think Deion Sanders said it best. If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good, right?
Yeah.
So if you are worrying about the way you look or your image or something, you're not going to be on your best game. You're not going to give your best, performance, I will say, because it is a performance. You are up there
Mhm.
being watched, and you're not going to give your best effort if you're thinking about how you look or something that's bothering you, or you're subconscious about something that's going on. So just, give yourself a trial run before you go up on stage. Make sure everything's where it needs to be and everything's staying where it needs to stay.
That part.
Mhm.
I'll let you do this one, Chris.
Yeah, so we're gonna
Yeah.
jump into endorsements and introductions. So go ahead, Chris.
So when it comes to introductions, typically I know as a MVP, either your campaign manager or typically the most senior person um, from your state is going to be giving your introduction. So in this case, this is the first impression of that candidate, of either you or the candidate you're representing. This is their introduction to the world, the way I would say it, right? The world or the audience that you're trying to persuade, right, or inform, like Michelle said. So the show is on, right? Be on. You want to have high. You want that person to have high energy. If that person has, I don't think you want to put somebody in there that thinks bad of you, right? Negatively of you, right? Because it might show up there, right? But if you want somebody who's going to be energetic, who say things in a positive light. I always want somebody who has positive emotions towards me, right? Because that's going to tend to shine through while they're talking about me. Um, Maybe not so much emotion, right? Right. You definitely want like facts and like you know you want. So I work in the sales world. So when it comes to the sales world, the sales is a transfer of emotion, right? And when people buy something, they don't buy it typically because it's the most logical decision that they're planning on making. It's because they love it. They just absolutely love it, and they gotta have it, right? Well, that doesn't happen off of you being dull and low. The person who's selling it to you being dull and low emotion, and like, yeah, this is green. It comes in other colors, but I mean, all we got is green. And yeah, you want it or not, right? Like typically, they're like, oh my God, this is gonna look so great in your bathroom, or this is gonna look so great in your driveway. Um, I know you said you wanted this, this, and this. Well, this has all those things, and this is how it's going to work out for you. And this is what it's done for me. And I mean, I have one just like it, or my cousin has one just like it, and they absolutely adore it. Like, I mean, you'd be just in a real bad spot if you didn't get this, right? They're like, well, damn, the way you put it like that, I gotta have it. The same thing happens with candidates. When you're introducing a candidate, you want a person that's high energy, that's going to be able to engage the audience, and that when they speak about you, and their personal experience, that emotion is transferred to the audience that they're addressing, right? You want that person to sell you, um, or the organization, like, or somebody, if they're talking about your organization, you want them to be able to represent that in a positive light. Next slide, please. So asking for endorsements, right? So this part gets a little tricky, right? Um, you want to be direct, right? You don't want to beat around the bush when it comes to this. You don't want to go, I this is the case, and like, yeah, because that doesn't seem genuine, right? And I that is a big thing for me. Like, I never want anybody to make me seem like I'm not being genuine with them, um, because that's not how I want to be treated. I don't want people to address me in that manner. So you want to make it direct, right? Make sure that you're engaging with them. If you are running, let them know, hey, my name's Chris Thompson. I'm running for national vice president. or I'm running for national president, and this is why, right? And uh, make sure that you're engaging that person for what they are, and don't just talk at them, talk with them, right? If somebody's wanting to, if somebody's three things are this, and this, like these three things: membership, training, and building value for members. And that's just random. That's three random things that I just picked up. But uh, make sure that when you talk about that, that the reason you're running, engage on those points. And if it's something that you feel different against, that's okay too. Conflict is not bad, right? Conflict is not a bad thing. Uh, some people shy away from conflict, but I think our organization definitely needs to lean into it when it happens. It's not something to be scared of, to have a difference of opinion, and a lot of times seeing a different perspective on things is just it can add value to the entire group. Because seeing it a different way doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It just means that you know what, I didn't think of it that way. Um, and then tell them why. Like, hey, these are some of the things that I feel about our organization, and this is how I plan on changing it. And then, of course, if somebody you know thinks differently than you, don't say, oh, well, whatever, forget you anyway, right? Right? Like, maybe they just haven't encountered that, and I mean that's not just a JCI thing. That's a life thing, right? People have different perspectives, different upbringings. You'll notice that in our country, with our organization, you're going to get people from all different walks of life, right? You get people from major metropolitan cities. You get people from rural areas. Whenever you encounter certain things, you say, hey, these are some of the issues I've been having. You may get some people who go, I don't even know what that looks like, right? Or they'll say, you know what, I'm actually having a similar problem, and you're like, oh, really? So when you get those no's, don't shy away from them. Just respect them for what they are, and then maybe if see if there's something else that they can get help with, and that you can assist with. Because just because you're not talking specifically about what you're running on doesn't mean that you can't help.
Well, and one thing I'll add here too, kind of jumping up to being direct, and this may be more true at like the state election level in Michigan, because nationally, a lot of times if someone is asking for an endorsement, the implication is that it's going to be public, right? If they're asking for an endorsement for their website or social media, like that kind of is obvious. But in Michigan, and many times a candidate can ask a chapter to endorse them. And that means that they are going to go within their chapter caucus and decide for them. And it may be kept within the chapter unless you ask it to be public. So I know that my chapter, Redford, used to not, we would only endorse a candidate publicly if they asked us to be public. And we could still say no. Like we would go to our caucus and we would vote, are we going to be voting for this person? Are we going to endorse them? And then a second vote, if we're going to endorse them, is it going to be public or private? That conversation only happened if the candidate asked us. If they never asked, it was always going to be a private endorsement. So in some cases, this is sort of that directness of, this is who I am. This is why I think I'm going to be a great candidate. I would love if you would endorse me, and if you could publicly endorse me. It makes a difference of when they talk to other people and other delegates, right? And so it's just something to kind of be aware of, if knowing the specifics of the election environment that you are choosing to run in, where those things are kind of at. It's especially national elections, the social media and website become like more important because we're spread across the United States, right? That's a stock place of information. At more the local or state level, a lot more of it is word of mouth. just kind of keep that in mind, that those contexts do matter.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And then kind of in the same sort of introductions, Chris kind of touched on this. You don't always control it. Sometimes it is specified in the election rules, like in national candidates, it's introduced by your state president. But sometimes it's not written down, but it's still sort of an expectation, right? In Michigan, it's usually your campaign chair. And then once you're elected, your introduction's usually given by your chief of staff. And be aware of the rules in Michigan. And I've seen candidates, not so much anymore, but in the past, the president, your speech time, you would get X number of minutes as a president, X number as a vice president, and you were expected to have an introduction. That was a holistic time. The introduction counted against your time, and you used to get fined if you went overtime. So the more your introduction talked, the less time you as a candidate got to talk. And there was a timekeeper. It was really serious. So just make sure going in what that looks like. I have a little story here. If any of you were around for my presidential run in Michigan, and my chief of staff is a far more emotional person than I am, which is why I picked her to be my chief of staff, right? You need somebody who's going to like balance you out. Numerous times she gave my introduction. She did a really good job, but pulled at the heartstrings. And then I walk up to the podium crying. So be careful. Maybe I should have probably said, hey, don't make me cry before I have to go give a speech, right? Don't assume that they know what you want them to say. Give them a brief, give them some talking points, tell them what your speech theme is going to be about so that the introduction aligns with the message of your speech, something like that. And then finally, just watch your body language. I was notoriously bad for this. I get very uncomfortable when people talk about me, and I 100% showed how uncomfortable I got when people are talking about me for my introductions. I wish I could have gone back, but again, watch your body language, watch your facial expressions, because again, they're at the podium, you're not, but you're always on stage when you're a candidate.
Absolutely.
A good introduction. Yeah, a good introduction should make you feel like ready to take on the world, right? Like you should feel empowered at that point. You should feel like, yes, like let's go. Like I always say it's like in a boxing match or UFC nowadays. Like you used to get Michael Buffer, or in UFC it's Bruce Buffer. It goes out there and like, let's get ready to rumble, right? Like that first introduction, like when they're coming out there and they're announcing your name, you should feel like, all right, I got this. Not like, oh my God, I gotta dig myself out of this hole now. Okay, or it shouldn't feel like crickets, right? It should be high energy when they introduce you. You should feel like, man, I'm so ready to take on this audience. Like this is gonna be awesome. I think when I was running for MVP, Sean was the state president, and he was actually my highest. Actually, at the time I was state president, he was the highest officer in attendance from the state. So he came out and delivered my speech, and he told me, he's like, "Hey, this is what I'm gonna go over. This is how I'm gonna go over it. Are you good with that?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." Like, so now I knew what to expect. I didn't go out there in tears, or like, oh my God, he just brought up old trauma. You know what I mean? Like no, it was at that time, I knew what he was gonna say and how he said it, and he told me how he's gonna deliver it. So I was ready. I was like, all right, man. Like I was excited, and after he said it, I was good to go. So that's how it should be. It should be something that's definitely discussed, that you guys go over, and that you're on the decision of what they're going to introduce.
I practice my body language for introductions because I get so awkward when people are talking about me. And that's one thing I've learned, is to be like, practice my body language. Otherwise, I look terrified, or completely embarrassed when people are talking about me. I don't know why. It's just weird, you know?
I get it.
All right, personal branding and campaign branding. Let's get this section started. One of my favorites. What do people say about you when you're not in the room? Personal branding is so important, right? It's not just built overnight, it is built over years, how you show up, how you speak, how you act, what kind of emotions you make people feel. Now, can you rebrand? Yeah, but it's a little difficult. Your campaign brand should be an extension of your personal brand of who you are. You shouldn't be a completely different personality, right? People can sense when you're being inauthentic, and that's never good. And your personal brand is what gives you credibility, your platform, and just be real. Like if you don't know how to do something, totally fine. Just don't say you do. You can go next slide, please.
I wasn't pushing you. I accidentally hit click. So yeah.
So yeah, the theme last session. Actually, I wasn't at the last session, so Michelle, do you
Yeah, I was going to say this is just the straight slide from the last session to kind of draw it through is breaking down, when you pick your campaign theme and your platform, how it interacts with this idea of personal branding is your themes, what that statement or image that makes people remember you, and your platform is what makes people trust you. Your personal brand should flow through this. Again, they're all should be in alignment. You're selling, it sounds terrible, but when you're a candidate, you are selling yourself. And as Shakita said, it has to be authentic. So if these things, you can't draw a line to all of them, people are going to notice. There needs to be a substance behind it, and your personal brand and credibility is what provides that substance.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, be consistent, visually consistent. You like a theme, you like a color, let's keep it, right? Do your materials, your photos look like they belong to the same person across every channel? Let's stop here quickly and talk about AI, right? We love AI, it's great, but we have to be very careful with AI headshots, AI graphics, because one, you don't like that in person, and two, it comes across as inconsistent, right?
You mean you don't want to catfish people with your headshot?
You know, the latest thing I've been seeing is some people's like AI headshot makes their head look really large, so it looks like a bobblehead. You know what I mean? Like almost it's doing the opposite. So Photoshop, yeah, I like a little. Please don't AI your face. Thank you. Actually, JCI came up with a rule about that last year about candidates not using AI. It turned into a thing, as you can imagine. So, messaging consistency. Does your platform sound the same whether someone hears it in a forum, reads it, your website, on social media, or hears it from another member? You should always be putting out the same message. Your message on your website shouldn't be, I'm super professional, analytical. And then they go to your like Facebook, your social media, and it's like, I'm fun and fancy free. Like everything should look consistent. You should be the same person. Oh, this is a good one. Behavioral consistency. How do you act at a chapter event? How do you present yourself? This is a big one. Are you nice to people? Are you nice to people who you perceive as people who may not necessarily have a strong vote? Because I'll tell you, people will always remember how you made them feel. And you may be trying to, because I've seen this a lot, you may be trying to engage with a president or a vice president, but you're ignoring the member. You're not giving your time to the guest that's coming. That is a negative perception. So it's inconsistent. So if you're saying I'm this warm, welcoming person, everybody matters, but you only show that the people who you perceive have power matter, that's a consistency issue, and you've blown all of your credibility.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a cautionary tale too here is I've seen this. That maybe get you ahead in the first year, But the people who you may perceive don't have power now, this is 1 year to lead, and people age out and grow. And guess what? They're going to have power someday. And I have seen people remember, right? And so you treat people like that in 3-4 years, that you're going to be on the outs, and you don't want that either. The other one I've seen is, if you are, I probably shouldn't say this on the internet, but like, if you're known as being like a shit show at every chapter event, and then you try to campaign on professionalism, the cognitive dissonance for people are there. This is the one that delegates notice the most.
Yep.
Right? You have a history, you have your personal branding is built over years. You're going to have to do a hard reset, hard rebrand over time. And it's not going to be because you made a fancy website and you decided to run for election this year. That's not going to be enough.
Exactly. Yes. All right, we can move on. Okay. Write down 3 words you want people to use to describe you as a leader. Then you ask somebody, how would you describe me? Hopefully it's the same. Like, hopefully you're like, I'm compassionate. I'm resilient. I'm amiable. And then you ask somebody, they're like, she's a tyrant. She's not fun at all. She is probably the worst person I've ever met.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time on that election. But I do want to add an asterisk here is we've talked about this. If you've sat through any of my trainings and many other people's trainings, there's not one type of leader, right?
Right.
So when you write down the 3 words that you want to describe yourself, or, you would hope that people describe you as, and other people write down words, like, take a hard look at it. Like, this is a little bit of a moment of self-reflection. If the messages don't match, that doesn't mean it necessarily you're a bad leader, you're not right. Maybe you're perceived as the different type of leader than you thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this organization needs different types of leaders. Like, you need the leader who is very much like the people person and the cheerleader and gets everyone excited. But at the same time, you need leaders who are like, there are rules and we need to get our operations in order. And like, you know what, we got to follow a budget and not run it on vibes, right? Like, these things make an organization successful. It goes back to that idea of personal branding and consistency. If you are one and you're trying to sell yourself as the other, that's where that tension comes in. Be authentic to who you are. You may still be the leader that this organization needs, but this is a good litmus test to start, like, kind of wrapping your head around that and making sure that there is that consistency of how you see yourself and how others see you.
Absolutely. And also, personal branding outside of JCI is so important. Who you are in JCI should reflect who you are in the real world as well.
Because guess what? We're not building better JCs, we're building better people. They kick you out and you have to go out into the world.
Right. Exactly. All right. Social media management. I know a thing or two about a thing or two. Okay.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. But, oh, yes. I routinely Google myself. Google yourself. Google variations of your name. Google things that you may or may not have been associated with. Go to your personal social media accounts. I would say go back further than 2 years. Go back 7 years. Matter of fact, go back to the beginning. Just go through it all. Anything that's contradictory, anything you don't want people to see, archive it, get rid of it. It's better. It's for the best. Or if you just have like way too many, like, I don't know, like party photos, like, not that there's anything wrong with partying, but it's like hard to be like, I'm in the middle of this campaign and you're doing like all the pictures of you are doing keg stands. Not that I love a good keg stand. We just can't have all the pictures be about keg stands, you know? Check your privacy setting. Yes, 10 out of 10 for the archive. It's my best friend. Check your privacy settings. Determine what you want to be public versus private. Screenshots are forever. Screenshots are forever. I don't care if you're sending it to your close friends. They are forever. If you don't want anybody to see it, if it's something you're like would be mortified if it got out, do not send it. Don't send it. I don't care if you send it on disappearing. It could get screen recorded. Turn your tagging approval on. That's a big one for me because a lot of people tag me in a lot of stuff. And I don't necessarily want everybody's stuff on my page. So yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with the public. All my profiles are open because I don't put anything up there that I could get in trouble for. Or, or even if I did get in trouble, it wouldn't be catastrophic.
Well, and I hear this from people like, oh, well, that was on my personal page. And it's like,
you don't have a personal page.
You don't have a personal page.
Yeah.
It's your brand is who you are, and people are going to go back and check that.
Yeah.
And what you post there, whether or not it's your campaign page, it still tells people who you are, and you're selling yourself as a candidate. They're evaluating it.
Watch your comments too, not on just your page. If you're commenting on public forums, social, like even if you're commenting on like the news channel, right? Watch your comments. Watch your commenting groups.
Because it pops up to your friends. Like if Jaquita comments on something, it can show up in my feed, whether I'm part of that group, whether I follow, like, I'm clearly not in Virginia Beach in the Know community page, right? But those types of things can still pop up. And again, screenshots. Nothing in this organization is secret.
Do not. If you're not, and listen, I will post controversial things from time to time, but the difference is I stand 10 toes down on those controversial things I post. I stand 10. So if you're not that type of person, or what you're posting could be detrimental to your job, your family, do not post it. Your campaign, don't post it. Wait till you turn 41. All right, next slide.
Maybe I lost my little cursor. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Okay, after you announce, okay, so read the rules. Like really familiar, please, I implore you. Familiarize yourself with the rules. Yes. Read them. Okay. Yes, post consistently, not constantly, and like mix it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep it interesting. Like every post shouldn't be like, just mix it up. Like people want to see it. Add some reels or something, show us how your day is. Don't just tell a photo wait, sorry, I'm reading this. Don't just tell. Yeah, I love that. Let's see photos of you doing stuff. Like I'm sure like your 15th headshot and picture of you standing behind a podium at a JCI function is amazing. And we love that. We love you holding your awards. But what do you actually do? Like, are you having fun with your fellow members? Do you travel? Like, people want to see your personality. Like, what do you do outside of this? And engage. Don't just broadcast, respond to people. I'm so bad at that, and I'm getting better. I get overwhelmed with comments, especially like some posts will have like 100 comments, and I'm like, I can't do it. But yes, you should respond to people. Discussions, be a real participant, know when to hide other people's comments on your post. Because there's been times when I've posted things that I didn't think that were that bad. Everybody's having a good fun time, and some psychopath, especially if you have a public profile, comes in and says the most off the wall thing. That hide feature is amazing. And don't be afraid to block people. I block people all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Yep.
The screenshot test. If this got screenshotted and posted on the JCI USA page, how would you feel? If we put it up on the screen at the General Assembly, how would you feel? If it's any type of hesitation, don't do it.
I'm a big fan of litmus tests if you can't tell.
Yeah,
So
it's like you, as you should, like, because sometimes you can see a post and you're like, well, why would they? Okay, all right, girl. All right, relationship building. I know Chris is in the midst of picking up our son, but there
No,
he is.
no, I'm good. I can go into this. So, so when it comes to relationships, of course, relationships are important, right? This is what I think as a elected member of our organization or in any part, whether it's chapter, state, national, international, um, this is the strongest part of that role, right? And that's something I feel about because it's your time to connect with members, with people that are both in the organization and outside the organization. So, when you're speaking to people and when you're using your social media, of course you want to make sure, you're aware of all that stuff. Um, but these relationships that you build, whether it's through social media or it's in person or it's, whether it's at convention or an event, um, this is what's going to help you build those votes, right? This is what's because not only are you having a direct influence on yourself of like how they're going to perceive you and what that outcome may be, but I'd say treat every person as, you may be talking to the next national president, the next MVP, the next, state president, right? You don't know, you may not know these people, you may meet them for the first time, but show the enthusiasm, the things that pushed you to be where you're at this moment, or what you aspire to be. Um, Make sure that they feel that from you as well. Um, Typically the ones I've seen that win are the ones who can really master that art of building the relationships, right? Of because you only get so far by what you do and how you do it. But being able to talk to people in order to be elected in this organization, and it's a I would say not a sad truth, but sometimes it can be it can feel a little rough. It's not just about what you do and how you do it, it's about people liking you and trusting you. And if people like you and trust you, they're going to put their confidence in you. And that's a sales thing. That's not just a JCI thing. That's sales too. Like I don't expect somebody to buy a car from me or to buy anything from me for that matter if they don't like me and they don't trust me, right? We don't have a relationship. Even if it's a business relationship, it's still a relationship that's being fostered, and you have to be able to relate to people, to meet people where they are, and know your audience, right? Sometimes you go into a room, and if you're this huge, confident extrovert, and you think, oh, I can just, I'm going to be that person when I walk into this room, and everybody's going to love me. No, maybe they don't, because maybe you're walking into a room, full of people who are like you, and now they perceive you as being cocky or arrogant, right? Of being somebody who's, just, doing the most. You're trying to peacock. You're trying to peacock in the room and make all this, noise because they may think you're trying to mask some sort of insecurity. Or conversely to that, you go into a room with a bunch of people that are, introverts, and you match their energy, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I want this person leading me. Like, I'm an introvert. I'm having trouble getting things done. I don't know if this person's going to be able to get things done for me. So reading the room and knowing your audience and knowing how to address that audience is important. And then being authentic. I think everything goes back to that. Being authentic, meeting people where they are, and just say, you can go in with confidence, and then you can be vulnerable sometimes. Like I've gone in and had conversations with members and said, you know what? When I first did that, I was scared too. And sometimes till this day, I get scared in these things, and this is how I overcome it. Um, you know, Being vulnerable is tough for people sometimes, and it I think it's something that was really tough with me, and still can be at times. But I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with it, over the years, just because when something goes wrong or if something happens, in our organization, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say I failed. I didn't do what I thought was going to be done, but I'm going to go back to the drawing board and move forward next year. So I think when you're able to talk to members about that, uh, it helps build that relationship. It helps people relate to you, and then ultimately trust you and gain their confidence for a vote. So
Also, in our vision for JCI, it says to be the foremost global network of young leaders. We cannot be a network if we are not building relationships.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'll just underline that point. Relationships matter long term as well. I can honestly say that both international positions that I held were 100% through relationships. The first one was due to a conversation on a bus ride about what needed to happen in the future. And that person then advocated and said, I want her to replace me. And these are conversations that I didn't even know were happening. I didn't know that it happened for a year later, right? You're not going to be able to talk to every person. You need to have people saying nice things about you in rooms that you're not in conversations that you would never have access to. And that's where relationships come in. I will also say that when someone says something nice about you, it's held in a higher standard than if you were to say the same thing about yourself, right? That's just the nature of the beast. If I say nice things about myself, you're going to be like, of course, you're talking about you. You think that. But if Chris says something nice about me to someone, people are going to take his personal credibility into and add that to what he's saying, right? So these become not just in the, this particular election cycle or whatever one that you're looking at, these are long-term impacts. And especially in a 1 year to lead environment like JCI is, you're going to be working with people in different groups and teams over time. You need to be competent, right? But you need to have the relationship that people are telling others how competent you are. They work together in tandem. Otherwise, you could have all the awards in the world, but no one would know about it because you haven't built that network, you haven't built that relationship. And guess what? When you're actually on a team, it becomes a lot harder because you haven't built those relationships to work with people.
Absolutely.
and just having that mindset. So before you even start running, right? Like when I first thought that I was gonna ever run for anything national, um, I prepared myself to know that like, yeah, who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to get in front of? Who do I need to be, just, getting to know, building relationships with, right? And it doesn't start when you are planning on running, when you announce. That starts when you are thinking about running, that first inkling. And I would almost say it almost starts all the time, right? Like, even if you aren't planning on running, use this organization to your advantage, right? Build those relationships, build those connections, and so that you can be, the foremost, uh, network, right, of young leaders. Like, you want to make sure that like you're doing what you need to be doing now, because you never know when that relationship may come in handy. And I don't want to say that you build the relationships in order to eventually need them, but you build relationships every day, whether it's with friends, whether it's with family, right? There's things that are done every day. And sometimes you're like, hey, I know somebody who does this. Let me go talk to them and see if they, if I can, if they have any type of advice for what I'm doing. Um, in the car business, I think the car business, like around here, everybody knows each other some way, somehow. And it's one way or another, you end up crossing paths. So people ask me all the time, like, hey, you know anybody in finance? Oh yeah, I do. I mean, I'm in finance, but I also know other people who are in finance. Oh, okay, great. Do you know somebody at this store? Oh yeah, my buddy's over there, and then I can refer them, right? Now I'm because of that network that I've created maybe 2 3 years ago or 10 years ago. Now I can utilize that network to help a friend out, right, and give them some business. Vice versa, right? Like, or it could just be like, hey, I have a question. Oh, let me call my friend. I know they're at this place. Jaquita's had to be able to use this, and I've seen it firsthand with her, with people across the world, right? And it's insane. Like I remember a few. It may have been what was that? It may have been COVID or just before COVID when that that factory in Beirut exploded, and I remember her because of some. I think it might have been from NAA or something that you did with this person.
Yeah.
Um, you called them up and you were like, hey, I just want to call in and check on you. I heard about what happened. Is everybody okay? Is your family okay? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, you, because of JCI, you were able to call up somebody on the other side of the world, right? That you would probably never cross paths with, but you were able to call them and just check on them because something happened. Um, and for my own personal example, I was traveling in the country when I was running for NVP, and I ended up in LA, and this was just before Christmas time, and it was probably like a week before Christmas, and I had JCs from Santa Clarita meet me for dinner, and come down, and then they just we just hung out and had dinner, and I was in Whittier at the time, Whittier, California, and the next day I came up and helped them with one of their with Santa's helpers with one of their projects. And like I think about all those moments that I've had within the organization that are like that, and all those memories I've created, and that doesn't happen without the relationships. And I plenty in Michigan. I have plenty memories and relationships in Michigan, and like it's always good times. Like hell, I got over my fear of heights in Michigan. Kind of, sort of. So, but you need to always be thinking about that. Like when I go someplace, when I do something, like what friend am I going to meet? Am I going to make a new friend, right? And I try to do that when I'm selling something to somebody. I just say, how am I going to create a new friend today? And a lot of times I'm friends with a lot of people who the first person I sold a car to, they're still friends with me on social media, and they still talk. I've met them. I ran into them about a year ago. And so those are the things you need to keep in mind in your mindset. Like when I'm going to a JC event, when I'm showing up to something, whether it's in state, out of state, or national meeting or international, how many new friends can I make from this, right? And I hope that I can be, helpful to them someday. And then asking people to meet others, right? Like expanding on that network, right? So I had somebody come up to me. I think it was actually in a chapter JC meeting. Um, Might have been a guest speaker we had, and they said, um, two things. Who do you know that you think I should know? Right? So that's number one, right? So of your sphere of influence, how many people do you think that I should know that that would be a good connection? And then vice versa. What type of people do you know, or do I know that you think you should know as well? Right? And so like just expanding, like, oh, you know what? You're in real estate. Oh my God, I know this person who works in, these mortgages, this, does that. Let me link you up. I think you guys, even if you guys don't really get a chance to talk to each other all the time, let me just make the introduction, and vice versa. So you talk about those relationships, right? And how you can be helpful. Um, one of my first places I went to when I was traveling was I went to Sheboygan, Wisconsin for Brat Days. And I was up there. I literally went up there because a fellow SP came down for our birthdays were the same week. And so he came down to celebrate his birthday with me. And then I said, well, if I get the time to do it while I'm working here, if I get some time to get out of here early, I want to make it up to Sheboygan. He came down to Milwaukee, and I was like, I'm gonna try and make it up to Sheboygan. So I ended up going up there, and I went up there because I was just trying to, reciprocate the energy that they came down, for me for. And this was Eric Luke. If those who don't know him, Eric Luke and Cassie Van Goppel. They both came down for me for my birthday, and then we celebrated. And so I went to Sheboygan for the first time ever. It was 99 degrees outside. It was just pure humidity. And we're out there, and Eric's like, "Oh, well, let me introduce you to some of my members." And so I met like 3 members that day, and I remember one specifically that was like, "Hey, I've never done anything national. I've never, really, done anything beyond my chapter stuff. I'm kind of branching out, and you know, this is the first time I'm actually like stepping up on a state level. I'm a member that really hasn't done a lot on the state level, but I kind of they kind of brought me Eric kind of brought me into the fold, and now I want to do a little bit more. And I told him, I said, well, listen, the national convention is in Cleveland, and yeah, I am running for national office. I'm running for national vice president, but more importantly, you have to go to a national meeting because I feel like you're JCing with one hand tied behind your back if you never gone to a national meeting. And he was like, man, you make it sound really convincing. And I'm like, yeah, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go. And he ends up going. He had just amazing time, and he ends up winning first timers. And he won first timers, and then he ended up going to Chicago shortly after that, which was right down the street from his hometown. So this member ends up going for national office or for his state, and then ultimately ends up becoming a first state president from his home chapter in God knows how long, right? It had been just forever. Well, this person is their current state president. So Wisconsin's current state president. And, I met him literally in that one meeting in Sheboygan, there that one event. And it just kept going. And now this relationship goes on years later. And, we still talk to this day. So it's just, you never know what that network is going to go out to. So you just want to make sure that keep open mind. You don't mind being introduced to new people, and you live in the moment, be where your feet are.
Yeah, follow up. Call people back. Check in on them. I'm really bad at that. I'm sorry if I left you on red. I probably did.
Don't just call people when you need them, right? Don't just call people when you need them, or you're trying to like scold them for membership or whatever the case may be. Like, follow up with people. Hey, how's it going? How are things doing? Anything new pop up? Hey, I saw on social media you got married, or I saw that you got divorced. Are you okay? How's everything going? Right? Like, hey, I saw that you started a new job, right? Like, just be genuine with it. Like, hey, congrats. I text people congrats when I see something cool happening in their life. Hey, congrats. That's awesome. Couldn't have happened to a better person. Like, don't just be the person that responds to somebody when you either need something from them or you're calling them with bad news. Build those relationships year round, right? Even those little check-ins, they mean the world.
Yeah, they do. Campaign materials.
You want to take this?
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into it. They represent you. Can I use a very politically incorrect term? Make sure your campaign materials do not look like a hot bag of ass. We can't have that. You're representing yourself. They're your physical materials, your digital expression. They are the physical part of your brand, your message, the platform. So if it looks discombobulated, trust and believe people are going to think you're discombobulated, Yeah, and show words are hard. Supporters can also display them to show support, which is always cool to see.
Yeah. And I add that part simply because like you have to be strategic about it. If you want
Mm-hmm.
support, make it easy for supporters to be able to display them. And if that's your intent, right? Like
Right.
different materials have different intents. Not everything is meant to be displayed. Sometimes it's a, maybe a physical thing to be a reminder, but it's not wearable. But if you are you want that visual support, like then you have to make sure that supporters can do so.
100%. 100%. And digital campaign materials, your website. Okay, let's talk about websites. It does not need to be a 10-page, like AI bot enabled website. It can simply be a quick landing page you make on Canva that just talks about you, your campaign, who you are. Very easy peasy. Just a place people can find. You could do a link tree. I think when I ran for MVP, I did a link tree so people could find out my campaign materials, my calendar. I don't know, I think I had this weird video I made. Looking back, the video was cool for the time period it was in. It wouldn't be that cool today. Your official candidate social media profiles need to look great. Those should look good. Your candidate profiles, your resume, especially on the international level, that's a big thing. The resume to candidate profile, it needs to be polished. It needs to list your accomplishments, really convey the messaging over. If you can get testimonials, better than worth their weight in gold. Worth their weight in gold. And when you're getting testimonials, my suggestion is to not get them from the people that are closest to you. Get them from people that people would not expect you to have a testimonial from. Like if I gave Chris a testimonial, you're gonna be like, well, of course you did. That's not. But if I had like Alejandro, well, actually Alejandro would give me a testimony. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody least expected to give you one. If I had a Henry Giesenbeer give me a testimonial from the great beyond, that's
Yeah,
really impressive.
gonna be big.
Okay, images and photos of you. For your campaign materials, I implore you, please get your photos done. Even if you can't get them done professionally, just take a nice photo and have a friend edit it. That is the most important thing. Your campaign photo is like it, and it needs to look good. Your personal social media profile. It goes back to the whole screenshot thing. Please don't post anything crazy up there that you're not going to stand on. And like things that are offensive, don't post offensive things. Don't post, I don't know. I've seen some strange things on people's personal pages who are running for office, not necessarily in the US or in Michigan, but in general. Like, I saw a quick story, I won't say who. A certain international officer had like a whole hate page dedicated to the US on his personal profile. Like, everything was about how evil we were and how much, gosh, it was. I won't say names because he's also graduated. So yeah, be careful what you post because I didn't know him at the time. I just happened to see he was running. This was before I was running, and seeing that wasn't too comforting. So yes. And when you're posting, make sure that we're using a good mix: reels, photos, and static images. Like everything should not be a graphic. Everything should not be like ultra campaigny or ultra produced. Use a good mix. Um, this isn't in here, but if it holds you accountable and helps you, uh, you can use Meta Business to schedule on your campaign pages. I actually schedule my personal posts sometimes. If you need some inspiration, I would say Claude or GPT, not to do your content, but to kind of lay out a calendar because you want to make sure that you're consistent when you're posting. Like you don't want to post like today and then we not see you in 6 months and then you're like, oh no, random post. Like it needs to be consistent. Fixed.
Yeah, and the images and pictures of you with your personal social media profile, I personally turn on the approved pictures partially for this. As a trainer and speaker, the number of unflattering pictures of
Mm-hmm.
mid talking or you're just not watching your face, you can slightly, you can curate those and what shows up by not approving the tag on it. And that way it doesn't show up if that's not the look you want, you know. So sometimes it's not even just controversial, it's just very unflattering.
I got a whole bucket of those that are still
Mhm.
just sitting in my tag requests. Hopefully
Yep.
never see the light of day. So physical campaign materials, of course, you got your flyers, t-shirts, buttons, promo items. I did wine one year, my MVP year. I did bottles of wine with my like name on it. That was expensive, but it was cool. It was cool. Table. Oh yeah, your table setup when you're doing your candidate party, especially I'm the type of person that I like a good candidate table, right? Make sure you have stuff on it or it's eye catching. It's not just papers or it's not sparsely. It doesn't like you just throw it together, right? Food. I did do a charcuterie board my MVP year and my look to go with my wine because it worked out. Also banners, depending on so for banners you really got to check the rules of where you're at. But banners, and if you're running for a JCI USA office, do not put the JCI USA logo on it because it's going to get rejected.
Yep. And I want to put a little asterisk here because I know that running for office in some cases can be expensive. You don't have to do all of these things. These are
No.
just ideas and creativity and like intentionality outweighs expense. And that's true even
Hmm.
at a state like my promo item giveaway for state president, because my theme was growth, like local growth, global opportunity, were little worlds that were plannable paper. And I got them on,
Oh, I
hundreds of
like
them on
that.
Amazon, and it was like $12. And I printed out little things and I stapled with a little message and I stapled them. So all told, the whole thing was 20 or $30 to have 100 of them, but it was about it tied to the theme. It was something a little bit different and putting them together neatly to pass out. You don't have to break the bank to do these things, right? If you have
Hmm.
the ability and that's your vibe and you want to, like, more power to you. But don't think that, like, see this list and go, oh, Jesus, I can't do all of this. I can't be a candidate, right? This isn't to give you an idea, not to scare you. Creativity, intentionality, authenticity doesn't need to be a quadrillion dollars.
No, not at all. Not at all. I one year my state president year because that was contested too. I did flower bulbs like grow out of your comfort zone. I like they're so cheap, right? Like it's not expensive. I got a bunch of flower balls, and then I got little bottles of Southern Comfort because they were on sale at the liquor store for 50 cents a piece. So literally, I think I spent maybe $30 if that because it was grow out of your comfort zone. You don't have to break the bank, and if you're like super eco conscious, maybe you just do digital. I mean, we're talking about physical campaigns, but maybe you could do like a little business. I've seen people do business cards. And when I say people, I mean myself because I just remembered I did that one year. The business cards are like 10, they're like 200 for like $10 or something at Office Depot with my QR. Nothing crazy. You don't have to break the bank. I don't and this is a soapbox situation, but I don't believe that candidacy should be limited to the people who have the financial means. Like, we should not be limiting. So, also in your campaign, don't be afraid to reach out for campaign support. Like, if you need, hey, maybe Michelle can't give you $500, but maybe Michelle has a button maker in her house that she can help you out. That goes back to the relationship building too. So, don't let this discourage you. There's ways around it.
Yeah. I will say, so Muskegon, Demarcus is on this call, turned me on to this. And I found out on Thursday that there's one in Chelsea, but look for a maker space. Here at the library, they call it an innovation engine. They have Cricut machines, they have 3D printers, they have
What?
stuff that will teach you and help you make something. Look around where you're at. That's a good way that maybe you could do something cool that's a little bit more cost effective. You don't need to go buy a Cricut. You can go make your own stickers down at the public library.
I'm gonna go check this out now because I wonder if our library has it. I'm gonna
Right? I didn't know it
3D print so much
existed.
stuff. I
As
I don't
don't
even
even
a
have
have a
a
library
campaign.
card.
as an MVP, I tried to do goes with your intentionality. I tried to do fun, like, on TikTok you'll see like unbox my PR with me, right?
Yeah.
I created these boxes and sent them mailed. I mailed them to the state presidents, and I was like, post a video of you with an unboxing. I got like 20 just pictures of people with sunglasses on, and I was like, no one understood what that meant, like at all. So, with intentionality goes a long way in making sure everyone's watching the same TikTok algorithm, I guess, because the mark was missed. And that was expensive to ship.
I bet. I would have unboxed. I would have did an unboxing campaign,
It
but
was really fun, I thought, but it just missed the mark.
So these are just
uh
some best practices, and we talked about a little bit of some of this, but
yeah, quality over quantity. I am this is gonna sound weird. I don't like branded campaign materials because I feel like people are gonna use them again. So like last year for the on the international side, we have the World Advisors. We always buy the World Advisors like not campaign materials, but like tokens. So I actually asked Lori what she wanted. She said she wanted a travel adapter for the outlet. So that's what I got everybody last year. The year before that, I did notebooks and pens, but I hand wrote letters in the first page of each notebook. Like, thank you so much for all of your support. To all the advisors of the world, thank you so much for all you do for us. Because, and even last year with the charges, which were like $3 a piece on Temu, I literally had little handwritten cards like, thank you for all you do. I believe in like, I like handwritten notes. I think it goes a lot further than like people don't use branded stuff. It's like, like it's just a bunch of pictures of my face on a t-shirt. You're not going to keep wearing it. Or you might, I don't know.
yeah. And I think it all just kind of goes back to that being strategic. You only have so many, a finite amount of resources, and that could be time,
Yeah.
that could be money, it could be whatever. So, how are you going to leverage that in the best way possible? Is it, a higher price item, but fewer of them? Or is it, to Chiquita's point, that you're going to take the time and write handwritten notes to people that are really meaningful? That's quality, right? But it's not, I bought 500 nail files with my picture on them and threw them, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that would work for you. It depends on what your campaign is and who your audience is, but knowing who your audience is also going to kind of determine what that looks like.
I will say, at Conference of the America this year, typically when I travel, and Michelle, I know you've seen this, I get a lot of gifts. Like I'm talking about so many gifts that I have to bring an extra suitcase to carry them all, right? And
I had
some of
to
these
buy
things are like
another
huge.
bag in Japan.
Yeah, it's like you just get so much, and some of these things are like beautiful, like handcrafted sculptures. But one of the most meaningful gifts that definitely teared me up, and if y'all know Jonah from Canada, you know how great he is. He wrote me literally a letter on white paper with a little Canadian maple leaf like ornament, like one of the one, just a plain one. And that was the most meaningful thing to me because I'm like, oh, he does care about me. Not that I didn't think he did, but instead of like these huge, like grandiose gestures, just, hey, thank you for all you do. Thank you for being my friend and mentor. Like that, those type of gifts I think work well. And if you're dealing with like presidents, state presidents, local presidents, even members, just the like we said, quality over quantity. Just let them know that you care.
Mhm. Yeah, because in that point too, you remembered Jonah's gift. How much stuff
Yeah.
crap have you thrown out when you got home or didn't
Oh
even
my God,
take
I have
home
so
with
much.
you?
I have a closet, so when everybody and people visit or like family comes over, I'm like, what would you like from the JCI closet? Please. So when you guys come here in September, if you would like, I'll bring all the stuff. I need to get it out of my house. I have like, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yep. And the last thing I highlight under here is read the rules. don't waste a bunch of money that has something printed on it and find out that you can't use it.
Yep.
And like the
I've
big
seen
cautionary
that.
tale is like, you buy a bunch of t-shirts, spend a bunch of money, and they all have the Shield logo on them, and the elections chair says nope.
Yep. Or banners. Be very careful. We had All American one year bought banners and
No fireworks.
no, yeah, no fireworks, no guns, and I think no chickens. There was an incident, but anywho, that was back in the day. But we had to literally cover the banners with tape because it had the shield on them. Like, yeah, read the rules, and no horses. Earl will tell you about that one.
Um, this is
Uh,
just a redo slide that I've shown a couple of times about, again, common mistakes, because again, you don't want to waste a bunch of money. These are some of the most important rules.
yeah. Oh, yeah, the sign one. Don't do that, and make sure everything is cleaned up.
Mhm.
Missing that. Yeah, yeah. Those two. Actually, these are all very good rules. And
Yep.
then yeah, the XCOM one is don't do
Big one.
that. Yeah.
So with that and your best practices, your rules to remember, we are done with the slides for today. So I'm going to stop sharing and kind of, as we usually do, open it up to you all. If you have any questions, no, stop sharing. Stop. You think I know how to use Zoom after this, right? But if you have
I
any
don't.
questions, for Jakia, for Chris, for anybody, feel free to, this is your time.
Did everybody register for the national meeting yet?
Yeah,
It's gonna be fun.
that's a cheers here.
Yeah.
Also, I'll do a
Well,
plug here. If you need headshots or professional photos for a campaign now in the future, Mr. Ryan down there takes excellent pictures. And Ryan, at some point, not that I'm campaigning for anything, but I do need new headshots because mine are so old that even without AI, I may start catfishing people. So,
yeah, I finally updated mine. I was like, it's been I had one well, my Zoom photo, like my regular Zoom one is like my picture from when I was 18, so I really feel like I need to change it, but
yeah.
If you want to see recent headshot work from Ryan, you can just check out my campaign page,
ooh, okay.
They're all Ryan because he's the best.
Yeah. I was gonna say my profile picture on Facebook is Ryan, so
I did a lifestyle. That's what I asked for this time. And I
I might
didn't
have
take
saw
it in
your
my front
lifestyle
yard.
and then I asked Ryan, can you make me look that cool? So it worked.
I did my JCI mandated headshots. They were cool. They were cool.
I can
I'll
attest
do
to
me.
Ryan's pictures being great. All I've he gave me a lot of good shots when I was up there in Michigan. So
Ryan's the only person
All
that's
of
ever
those in the
got candid
presentation.
pictures of me where I didn't look like a gremlin. And I really appreciate him for
So what
that.
I'm hearing is we need to get Ryan to Virginia
We
Beach
need to get him everywhere. Just pay him to
because
follow you around.
yeah.
my candid photos are like I don't. Gosh, they're so bad. Like one out of every 50 is okay.
Yeah. Ryan's one of two photographers that I have liked pictures that they took of me, and Ryan's candids are the best I've seen.
We can
So
successfully make Red Bull look professional while I'm holding it on stage. So
well, and see, Ryan, this is going on the internet too, so we got lots of plugs for you. Go and check
Exactly.
out Ryan Watkins Photography.
Please follow the link at the screen.
Right.
Link in bio.
Well, as always, if there are no questions here, I can stop the recording. We are here for you, to support you, to answer any questions. if you come up with a question next Wednesday and you don't want to save it for our final session, which will be 2 weeks from now, feel free to reach out. You can send it to me and I can forward it on if you don't have email addresses, or we will find somebody that has an answer for you. But I just want to thank each and every one of you for spending this time on your Monday evening with us. You really are the future of this organization, and the time and commitment that you spend to better yourself is really, it gives confidence to the sustainability to the future. And so you should be proud of yourselves as well. We really appreciate you. And thank you, Jaquita and Chris, for answering the call, sharing your experience. You have a wealth of knowledge that we are all better for, and really appreciate you being here. So
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for having us. Yes. I'm so excited for all of you. Congratulations. Good luck in your campaigns. And I'm glad it's not me this year.
Yeah, same. Good night, guys. Good night.